Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk. We have been on a hiatus for a couple of weeks. Had a lot of stuff. Had a new year. I moved. I'm really, really pregnant.
Really pregnant. I mean, my God. Undeniable now.
Got 8 more weeks left. Thank God, and the little baby will be here. But Karmel, how's your new year been so far?
It's been good. No resolutions.
You don't do resolutions?
I don't do resolutions.
You make goals?
I have goals. I have plans. And then I execute, but I don't do resolutions. But it's
been good.
I don't
either, actually.
Good.
I do goals. I'm like, okay, and I make sure they're actionable goals.
Yes.
Because some people make unrealistic, and it's like, yes, believe in yourself, but like, come on, are you actually going to do that this year? So yeah, I make goals too. I believe that making goals is a better. People should make goals anyway.
Yeah.
Not just wait till the new year to do it.
I think they say, I think it was the 17th is the average day of most resolutions failing.
Really? Mm-hmm. So they give up on Martin Luther King Day.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Wow. Yeah, I guess so.
Wow. That was not the dream he had, people.
No, it wasn't.
But speaking of Martin Luther King, that is what we're going to be talking about today because we're celebrating his life and his legacy. This whole past weekend was dedicated to him. And this comes up every year. And we can talk about all the incredible things that he does and that he did and, what kind of legacy he left behind. And a lot of people are still continuing his work. But there's one thing that always bothers me whenever it is Martin Luther King Day. And I feel like people, specifically politicians, really exploit him and misuse him.
Oh yeah.
On the weekend and on his day. And I'm really curious, what your thoughts are, Karmel. And obviously, once you guys listen to this episode, we want to hear from you. But how do you think that he would be treated or received if he were still alive and still the same Martin Luther King, if he was still fighting the way that he did? Because clearly we're not done with that fight.
Right. And see, that's the key is if it was the Martin of then versus just what we know, just the highlights. Because like we're a very ESPN, Instagram culture now.
Yes.
You just see highlights. But like if you guys knew of the real Martin and the real protests and some of the things he was doing behind the scenes of the I Have a Dream or the March on Washington, there's a lot of other things he was doing that they didn't like then. And I guarantee you they wouldn't like now.
Right.
So I would think he would not be as well received as he is in his death and posthumously and like in all his memorials and all that. And, every politician says something nice about him.
Right.
There's no way they would if he was here.
Right.
I
completely agree. I mean, it's impossible not to say something nice about him. He did do great work. And to me, that's the only march that ever was beneficial and did anything. But we can have another conversation about marches because we both feel the same way about marches.
Start.
Seriously, I was like, I literally think that someone was the only one. But that's another conversation. But I always find it interesting also that a lot of Trump's supporters specifically, when they have an issue with Black Lives Matters protesters or people that bring up things about race, they always go to Martin Luther King. It's like, well, what would Martin Luther King think? And like, for example, with Kaepernick, they always brought up Martin Luther King. And it's like, I think he would completely support Colin Kaepernick because it was peaceful, it was quiet, and it didn't hurt anybody. And that's what Martin Luther King was about whenever he was protesting for something. Yeah. So why are you bringing him up?
Because it's a safe way to like still kind of like, I'm with the black folks, but I kind of don't like what you black folks are doing. It's just literally that. We're like,
completely that.
Okay, so I can't be mad at you, but then I really should because you're completely using one of our heroes against us.
100%.
So yeah, I hate when they do that. But like again, he's not here, so they can. But then like, there's also other, things and agendas and things he's done that they don't bring up.
Right.
And I think I mentioned this one time in one of the other conversations we had in the speech, The Other America, that he delivered at Stanford. They would not bring that up.
Right.
There is no way they would plot any excerpt from that from that speech because it's so damning.
Right.
But I Have a Dream and us getting along, that's easy, of course.
Yeah, and they, I think obviously it was a good sentiment and say, I do wish that one day we'll be judged by the content of our character, not the color of our skin. But it's like when white people use that phrase, it's like he was talking to you,
right?
Like this is directed towards you. This isn't about us or people of color not judging. We never judged y'all for the color of your skin. This literally started with white America judging us for no reason.
Right.
And so that's what he's talking about. And I always think it's so funny when people bring that up. Like, why can't we just live the way Martin Luther King? It's like, why can't you just live the way Martin Luther King wanted us to live?
It's funny. Like, I don't understand like how white folks who do that, so not all white folks, the white folks who do that look at us when we bring up race and color and then want to end that combo.
Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't bring this up unless you didn't make it an issue.
Well, it's a level of comfort.
Yeah.
And you automatically become divisive when you bring up something that is specific towards your race.
Mm-hmm.
And whether Martin Luther King had pointed words specifically about black people or white people, we knew who he was talking to and what he was talking about. It's not that hard to figure out.
No.
Which makes me believe that if he were alive during the era of Trump, I mean, he would be denounced immediately.
Oh, wow. That would be something.
Wouldn't it, though?
I would love to see how would Trump and Martin Luther King Jr. go at it, because it would be a very, very interesting. I think, honestly, because one thing a lot of people have brought up is how many like black pastors and black community leaders Trump has had behind him and different things.
It's unbelievable.
And it's all for show.
Right.
But if Martin Luther was around, I'm 1,000% positive none of those pastors would have been in that area.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think so?
No.
So what do you think took them there in the first place?
Honestly, for them, it's it's exposure, it's publicity. I'll be honest, they probably got paid for it. But I think Martin Luther King would have been such an iconic figure for us that they couldn't have done that. There's no way they could go back to their church,
right,
stand behind Trump and know that Martin was directly opposing him. Now he's not here.
Right.
So
but
it's like,
don't you think that they kind of have, they should have an allegiance towards him even in death?
Oh yeah. But again, because he's not here, it's not something you hear all the time. You hear right now, just, during January, maybe partially during, Black History Month.
Right.
In April or around,
when the election comes
when the elections are coming, he's thinking about Martin. It's all these
fair.
visuals.
That's fair. I think it's disappointing though, because you're saying like, yeah, if he was alive, all these pastors would not be supporting Trump, but you would think that, oh, I want to continue his legacy, and this isn't something that he would support, so I shouldn't either. I'm surprised that not enough people think that way. Those pastors that are supporting Trump.
Yeah, I think, and if we look at like, our recent black heroes, or I guess our figures who speak for us, not necessarily that we've asked them to, but whether it's, Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson, I don't necessarily put them in the same category as, Martin Luther King. But
they put themselves
they put themselves there, right? So they put themselves there. So it's like,
right.
I didn't ask for that.
Right.
So then like they seem very opportunistic. They seem like they would be the kind of people, oh yeah, I'm 100% with this. We should be behind this person. Like, oh, hell no. There's no way.
Right.
There's no way King or X or any of our real leaders who have died and gone would be behind those people, but then we don't have anyone right now to kind of stand behind. So like, oh, it is what it is.
Do you feel like the era of celebrity is like shifted to like this time? Like celebrity is like kind of a bigger thing, because I can't imagine back then like Martin Luther King would have viewed himself as a celebrity, but I think we would have made him one.
Oh,
nowadays,
sure.
If he were alive now.
I think so. I think with probably starting with Ali, it shifted from like those type of leaders to like now sports figures. Now LeBron is probably like more of a speaker or an advocate for us.
Gotcha.
So I don't see politicians or especially pastors being our. And I also don't know if Martin Luther King would want it.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think he really would be like, no.
I think he would oppose the way that we give so much attention and spotlight to people nowadays. Because I feel like just in reading stuff about him and reading his work, like he would be like, this is taking away from the work that I'm trying to do.
I think so too. And that's the problem I have with politics is it's such an exposure game. It's like, how much can I get in front of the camera? How much can I say? How much can I, gain your allegiance? Not through anything I'm saying that's being of substance, because you see me so much.
Right.
That's it.
Right,
I don't honestly, every time we talk about how someone delivered a speech, if they sounded, articulate, and I'm like, what does it have to do with agenda and actually getting stuff done?
Yeah.
Now, King was a great orator, and he, of course, his speech is as probably an iconic speech as ever. But I think that's just who he was. It wasn't like he was trying to be that person.
It's just the gift that he was given.
The gift he was given.
Absolutely.
So that's, also down south, if you can do that, you become a pastor. So it's like,
True, because there's probably nothing else to do.
Right.
But yeah, I would be curious to see how he would respond to just even like the age of social media and constant, videos and constant just spotlight in that sense, because I do think nowadays people don't focus on the work. People don't focus on the activism. They focus on who's seen me do the work and seen me do the activism.
Yeah.
Like for example, it bothers me so much when I see videos of people filming themselves giving to the homeless.
It is one of the worst.
Just give to the homeless. Just help them.
Just help them.
Don't exploit somebody who's already at their lowest point in their life to make you look good and then get likes and comments and views on a social media platform.
I can't tell you how many times now. I can remember the first time that hit me like that. I was watching a video and it was very touching. I was into it. And then the entertainer in me started looking at, okay, how did they get that shot? Well, wait a minute. If he's doing that, who's filming? And then it just all kind of just hit me. I'm like, oh my God, this is a total setup for him to look. I'm like, oh wait. I mean, you cannot be serious. Like, you took the time to think about film. Because there was one shot where the person was like across the street and they kind of dollied up to him. Like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you're going to do that, like, it could have been more like organic and just like pull out your phone. But now every time I see that, I get nauseous almost.
Yeah.
Or even like I saw on Facebook the other day, I think it was Keanu Reeves has like built like 6 or 7 schools for, I can't remember what country it was. And it says he has secretly built such and such schools in this area. I'm like, well, the secret's out.
Right.
I'm like, now for him, he wasn't trying to do that. But I'm like,
exactly.
we want to always be the person. They're like, oh, look at this, to break the story. And I'm like, well, no, that's done. And it's a person, after I typed that, she's like, oh, you're right. Like,
it's true.
Yeah, we so want to be the person to say something and put that out there, but we're kind of damaging the work that people are trying to do. I think right now the only equivalent I could see to King would be like Farrakhan, and he has an IG page and he posts. I'm sure his people do it for him.
Yeah.
So they put some parts of his preaching up and some of his teaching, and I'm like, it doesn't feel dirty. It doesn't feel like he's trying to push his social. It kind of feels natural because I think the people who are doing it well. But I also see a lot of pastors and people doing it, and it feels very like it's just TBN. It's very like televangelistic now, just on IG.
Yeah,
it feels very much the same.
Yeah.
So I wonder where King would sit if he was here.
Who else do you kind of think fits into his like personality and his like legacy that's modern day? I can't personally think of anybody. I think as far as an orator goes, Obama.
Yeah.
For sure.
Just like definitely.
Commanding the audience to listen to him and how he presented himself. I definitely think that Obama has that factor, but I can't really think of anybody who's doing the kind of work in the way that Martin Luther King was doing. I mean, I'm sure if I took the time to look, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody.
And if you can't think of it off the top of your head, then it's not happening. It should be something like that's really quick. I can't think of anybody. Speaking of Farrakhan, one of his followers, Reza Islam, I think I mentioned him before to you.
Yeah.
He kind of has that kind of, he speaks very fast. He's super intelligent. He has a really cool vibe about him. So I think he's kind of the guy that's bubbling up now. And he's got 300,000 followers now, and he's kind of moving up in the ranks in that. But other than that, I don't see anyone doing that. Also, the whole civil rights movement is dead. It's not the same.
Yeah.
We see, you know what I'm saying? So we see it in just different forms, whether it's like, the LGBTQ community doing what they do. And again, I can't think of one leader out of there. Definitely not for us. So that's why I think a lot of it has like more celebrity, more athletes. Like Kaepernick, honestly, to me is carrying that torch right now. And I hate when people disparagingly compare him to Ali. Because a lot of people are like,
I haven't heard that actually.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of memes that show a picture of Ali standing around a bunch of African kids, and there's one of Kaepernick. It looks very similar. When I saw it, I was like, oh, wow, that's dope. And then I have a lot of people who I read, they're like, he's no Ali. I'm like, not because he won anything, because Ali was a champion.
Right.
Kaepernick didn't win a championship. He was just a really good quarterback for a few years. So they're like, you're no Ali because you didn't reach the status of athletic achievement. But I'm like, that's not what this picture is about.
Right.
It's talking about his achievement in terms of rights for people. He's doing as much as Ali ever did. He's not the speaker that Ali was, but Collins Know Your Rights organization, the one he has for kids in Sierra Leone, his backpack program in Brooklyn. He's doing all the things.
He does so much, and he doesn't look for the attention on it. And that's what I always find so funny when I see people like, oh, well, what is Colin doing? And it's like, you're in an age where you think that you're owed that information, and you're not. You don't have to know what he's doing.
Nope.
He's doing it for the right reasons. He's not doing it to get recognition from you. He's not doing it to get you to be like, oh, he is doing something. He's doing it because he's supposed to be doing it, and that's what he's being called to do.
Yep.
And I think that that's what is so different about when Martin Luther King was here, is that no one was owed anything. No one felt that they were owed anything.
Yeah.
They followed Martin Luther King because they liked what he was doing. And if they heard about it, they heard about it. If they didn't, they didn't. But nowadays, because we have Facebook, because we have YouTube, because we have Instagram, Twitter, everybody thinks that they have the right to know what everybody's doing to justify the type of person that they are.
Yes.
And it pisses me off.
I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. And people act like they're such experts.
Absolutely.
Such experts.
Absolutely.
And I don't like having to defend Kellen so much because, again, I agree. You don't need to know.
Right.
But he was doing these things before he ever knelt. He did it before he even started playing at San Francisco. He was in college doing a lot of this stuff. Once he got the resources and the money to do it, he just amped it up. So when people are like, oh, what has he ever did? I'm like, you have the ability to search. Like, you can literally get on your phone and research some of this stuff and all his organizations that he's built. And a lot of them are not Afrocentric.
Right.
There's one he created for infants with heart defects.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Has
know that.
nothing to do with black people.
That's awesome.
He's just like, I think he had a sister or someone in his family that passed. And he said, okay, I want to start a foundation that helps these kids and detect this early on. I'm like, no one's saying anything about that. It's like, if you took 1 second to if you really cared, that's the other thing.
Exactly.
If you really cared, you would
it is.
research 5 seconds and find out how much this guy is doing. You probably wouldn't shut up about it because you find something wrong with it anyway.
Of course.
But he's been doing a lot more than just kneeling and making you feel bad about it.
Which I don't even think they do feel bad about it. No. Well, they have to because otherwise they wouldn't be getting upset.
Right.
But yeah, I think Colin probably is on the right track as far as what, like, kind of continuing in Dr. King's legacy for sure.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get enough credit, but he's not looking for it.
So if King was here and we have the Black Lives Matter movement, do you think he becomes the de facto leader of it?
Well, let me kind of shift that. If he were here, do you think we would need the Black Lives Matter movement? Because I personally think, I mean, he died at 39, okay?
Wow, yeah.
I know, that's crazy. Younger than you.
Yeah.
Right?
Dang.
It's crazy. It's 5 years older than me. So, not 5 years, oh my God, 6. Don't make myself older than I already am. 6 years older than me. Oh my gosh. And well, I'm going to be 34 this year. Anyway, so thinking of that he was only 39 when he passed away, his work would have continued.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much more of a difference he would have made to help stop the things that are still happening.
I think, yeah, there definitely would have been some reform with police brutality and then the whole, everything that's going on with that. I think one of the things that was big for him, and he mentioned in the Other America speech, and if you guys haven't heard that, go on YouTube, it's on there, economic inclusion, which I think that would have changed a lot of things that we're seeing now. I think his work, because it would have been, 40 years now? Has it been 40, 50 years? Yeah, there's definitely...
He'd be 91 if he were alive today.
Okay, yeah. So there had been so much that would have been changed. I mean, even during that time, we still had Jim Crow, things going on like that he was still fighting with.
Yes.
Those things, people still don't understand how damaging that stuff was.
Yeah.
And I remember Byron Allen, again, I keep bringing up that video where he talks about how he thinks Jim Crow was more damaging than even the years of slavery. Because during slavery, we were an asset. And even though we're property, you still take care of your property. Once we became not property, we became a liability and a threat and competition. And then we're attacking us and killing us and lynching us. So
fantastic point.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
I never would
I got
have
goosebumps when he said that. Yeah, I was like, that's completely different. Those times of Jim Crow, I think he says, were more damaging. So now having to fight that and come to where we're at now, I think Martin definitely would have, I definitely would have made a lot more progress for us in a faster time and brought us maybe further on than we are now. So yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I don't know if we would have needed them Black Lives Matter because maybe that stuff's not happening if he's here. So, yeah.
And I was thinking even when you're mentioning like the other movements that have been happening and why we couldn't think of a specific leader for each of those movements, I think it's because everybody's more focused on their voice being loud rather than having a like clear and succinct message. Yeah.
Yeah. Black folks are very splintered right now.
Yeah.
I think we were way more unified back then, partially because we were as a whole attacked all the time. So we kind of were unified in that. So now that we have some freedom, some space, we're very like, what about me? Yeah. I need this. Well, I see what you're doing, but that's not my thing. Right. And so it bothers me. It really bothers me how much we are at odds with each other. because I don't share the exact same views as you do, but again, we're in this together still, and they still look at us the same.
Yeah.
So whether you're a Black Muslim, a Black Christian, or you're just I'm agnostic. I don't care what you do. You're still Black. You are still Black.
Right.
So like I don't know why we haven't figured that out yet.
When do you think that started though? The split. Because I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head. I do think we were more unified, at least from what you read and talking to my parents and everything. But they had very clear. I think it was split only in the sense of like you go the Martin Luther King route, you go the Malcolm X route.
Yeah.
But everybody was still fighting for the same thing, and everybody knew each other's message. But I wonder when it started to just kind of dissipate in that.
Well,
sense.
I know some speakers that we have today, like Dr. Umar Johnson. And I think also I've heard Tariq Nasheed mention this, that they feel that some of our other, even like they think Martin Luther King had maybe spoke to this, that inclusion into and us getting rid of segregation kind of caused us to splinter in ourselves. Because back then when we had like, Black Wall Street, or even back when a lot of our communities had several Black, businesses, we were more together.
Yeah.
Then once we decided, we want to be like, and getting, the other money and getting involved with them, we kind of ourselves fractioned off. So I think that's some really believe we should have never fought for inclusion. Because
I know a lot of people do think that.
Yeah, because I think they say, well, once we started, mixing with the Irish and the Italians, and we were trying to do money with the Asians, we start, taking it from ourselves. Because I know right now our dollar is horrible. The Black dollar has like no value in our own community. It used to have a lot. Yes.
That gives me something to think about, because I do think that that's a very fair point. But because a lot of people will say like, well, why were we fighting for? A lot of people will say we wanted it to be equal, but we are fine being separate.
Yeah. Yes. That's it. That's 100% it. But
and I get it. I get it. But a lot of people are like, well, no, like, why can't we all just get along? Why can't we all work together? It's like, unfortunately, the systems aren't made up that way. No. And I'm not saying I'm pro segregation, but I get the mindset of people thinking that way. I do.
But you look at every other culture, like there's definitely pockets of Asian communities, Arab communities, Indian communities that work and support each other just fine. And then at the same time, they're able to be inclusive with other races and ethnicities, and they're just fine. But they still bring it back to home.
Yeah.
They still stick together. We do not know how to do that.
Do you think it's kind of ingrained in our DNA to still kind of want to be included and please white people because of the history of slavery?
That's very possible.
And that's why we're always fighting to be seen and to be included. Because there are a lot of people like, why are you fighting to be seen and to be included? Like, why do you care? Focus on yourself.
Yeah, there has to be something ingrained in us that still feels like that's a necessity.
Like there's this loyalty and allegiance, this blind allegiance for some reason.
I think a lot of that is church-based in some ways. I think a lot of people look at like, well, our God is white. May not,
which he ain't.
He ain't, right? But they will probably feel that way and think, because they've been indoctrinated to think, Jesus is white, God must be white, yada. So this kind of, you just feel like that's who I am kind of serving in a sense. And I remember that's when I had like my big epiphany in church, walking out one day looking at a painting of a bunch of white guys, and I'm like, these guys aren't white.
Right.
But then that's what I'm teaching my kid, and that's what I'm teaching myself, and that's who they are. And I'm like, well, why am I doing that? Why am I allowing that to happen?
Right.
So I think a lot of that still falls in line with the church, because the Black church, I mean, makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
But
they have a lot of influence.
A lot of influence. But it's funny
That's why politicians always go there.
Exactly. But do we see any of the money in our communities? That's what makes no sense. The Black churches are making all this money, but they're not flowing it back to the people who need it.
And that's something I also think that Dr. King would do if he had his church, like in LA, for example.
Oh, for sure.
He would absolutely put the money back.
Would he have a mega church?
I don't know.
I mean, he'd be as popular as any pastor out there, right?
Right, exactly. And like his church in Alabama had a lot of people. It was Alabama, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he had a lot of people because his voice was getting louder. So I wonder if he would ever go that route. It's so curious just to think what it would be like if he were still around, and continued his work, and how much more he would have gotten done, and how much would be different.
Because I think if that was the case, if he had a mega church, but then ran it properly, where the money was going back to the community, creating community programs and helping out people in need, I think the model and the standard would force other black churches to do
follow.
the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I do.
Because right now, all we see is Creflo Dollar and who's the other guy that's out there? I forgot his name. But a lot of these big money black pastors, and they're like, okay, I mean, why can't I do that?
The Jets and the Cadillacs.
Right. It's like, well, they're doing it. I'll do it too. But the thing is, no one in the church is saying anything. No one's fighting it.
No.
They keep giving tithes every Sunday.
And it's all churches.
Yes.
It's all churches. It's black churches, it's white churches, it's all churches. And mega churches, at least I should say. I don't want to say all churches. Because my church don't do that.
Your church doesn't do it, right? Shout out to Harmony.
Which is crazy, though. Because they're in the position to help more. And they don't. The mega churches.
I mean, the biggest case was when Houston was having their floods. And they're like not opening the church.
Don't get me started on Joel Osteen. Don't get me started on Joel Osteen. I was seething. Like, these people are losing their homes. And it's flooding.
Dying.
And you won't let them just come sleep in the pew?
No. Because of the carpet.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. The church, church bothers me so much.
I know it
because
does.
It does. Because that's stuff like that. Like, the Catholic Church has more property in the world than any corporation.
Yeah.
By far.
Absolutely.
And then, like, when Notre Dame had its fire, right, they got like $7 million in donations.
If not more than that.
Yeah, but that was like in 24 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, they need literally no money, you guys. Like this, I don't get it. But like,
if you do a fundraiser, let's help the homeless in LA.
Okay, I have to say, I literally just drove down, what street is that?
Nordhoff?
No, not before here, by Harmony. Is it Cahuenga?
Oh yeah, Cahuenga.
There's a big Catholic church right there.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna name the name.
Yeah.
But there's like a bunch of people walking around, and there's a homeless guy right in front of the church, and I'm like, why is he here? And he's obviously in need. He's not like eating. He's just sitting there holding a sign. I'm like, he's right on your steps. Like I'm just laughing. I mean, this is, and the church is ornate. It's beautiful. The landscape's awesome. The roses are trimmed.
Not the roses.
The roses are great, but this dude looks absolutely disheveled and out of sorts, and no one's doing anything. And like that bugs me because the whole reason why you're supposed to be here is for him. Nothing.
If you're truly doing what Jesus would do.
Yes.
Because that's what Jesus would do.
Yes.
And Jesus is also not white.
Yes.
But like, even if you read a Bible, like, where did you think that he was white? Like, in his description.
Yeah, I've had this convo with so many people.
I mean, I could do a whole episode on that.
The easiest one I always bring up to people, I know it's completely divergent of the topic, but Jesus left, him and his family left to go hide in Africa. How are they going to hide if they're white? As soon as they come on the block, people are going to know, oh, you're not from here. Folks, whatever. Anyways.
Another time.
Another
conversation. So what do you think people should take away from the legacy of Martin Luther King?
I think the biggest thing is the confidence to speak up.
That's a great one.
Because there's so many things you can pull out from all of his different speeches. And whether you agree with all that or not is immaterial to the fact that he was confident enough to speak up in the face of a lot of opposition, and basically died for his ideals and philosophies, but he wasn't scared to do it. Yeah. And to this day, we're still feeling the reverberations and like ramifications of him just speaking up to this day. And he's not even here. So I think that's the biggest thing people should pull from that. Is just, I should be able to say what I want if it's helpful and positive, and not be afraid to say it. Great.
I think for me, it's staying focused on what your task is and not getting distracted by all of the other things. Like I said, it's easy to get distracted by all the social media and all of the stuff and like trying to get the accolades and the acclaim and everything. But it's like, no, if you're really passionate about something, stay focused on that and make that your goal. Like, if I want to change the criminal justice system, I'm not going to stop until I change the criminal justice system. If I want to help people realize that racism still exists, because yes, there are people that think it's a fallacy for some reason, focus on that, don't get distracted by the other things, and don't just try to be, it's not about being the loudest voice, but it's just about making your voice heard, like you say, and not being afraid to stand up.
I'm with it.
All right, well, let us know how you are remembering Martin Luther King today and this past weekend, and we will talk to y'all next week.
Later.
Bye.
And this episode of We Need to Talk is brought to you by Black Brew, the darkest, richest, boldest coffee anywhere.
Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at We Need to Talk the Podcast and Twitter at _We Need to Talk _.